It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. Merry Christmas to you and yours and the other thing. He's Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley as we begin a Thursday. We're now inside of a week. You have limited time. If you love those people, get out and buy them something. Hi, Gary. How are you?
I love The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I woke up to that. I woke up, turned on the TV, and it was a streaming channel that I had left on before.
Oh.
And it was a Christmas Story.
Oh.
And it was when they were in the department store, and that little kid with the glasses comes up. I like The Wizard of Oz. And Peter Billingsley looks at him and goes, leave me alone. I'm thinking.
You know, that's probably was the telling moment. I know he was an actor at that point. That was the telling moment, though, that he was probably going to grow up and be a director. Leave me alone. I'm thinking.
Well, the interesting thing is, you know, he talks about the director. Was it Bob? I can't think of the director's name. Oh, the director did Porky's.
Yeah.
I just can't think of his name at the moment. But he talked about, you know, you think that these kids are doing stuff, you know, these kid actors are doing stuff that might be embarrassing to them, like the Pink Bunny and all that stuff.
Right,
when he comes down, you find out these kids, you know, he was 12 years old. Mm-hmm. He looked younger than 12, Peter Billingsley, when he did. But he was 12. He said he followed the director around all the time. The director was giving him tips, even at that age. And I was thinking of the podcast I saw the other day. God, it's the best thing you can do. Especially, the best thing you do is not have commercials on YouTube and just let it go and shuffle. You don't know what's coming up next. Mm-hmm. And it was the Jason Alexander podcast. Right. You know, George Costanza from Seinfeld. And he had on Jaleel White, Urkel. Mm-hmm. And you would just think that, you know, he might have been embarrassed by that. You know, the whole, you know, the Urkel character, like, okay, it's money, whatever. He was completely into it. Yeah. He helped create it, and I think I said it in the air a couple of weeks ago when I first saw it, that where he got that character from was Martin Short.
Yeah.
And the character on SNL.
Right. Or was it Second City? That may have been a SCTV character.
Was that an SCTV character?
Yeah.
I thought it was I thought he did that on SNL.
I know he's done SNL, but I think that character was SCTV. I could be wrong.
Okay, but that's where he got it from.
Right.
And so, but they, you know, he was into it and directing. And the kid that says, by the way, I like The Wizard of Oz. He wasn't even an actor.
Wow,
wasn't even an actor. And
so,
but
and that's what you woke up to.
That's what I woke up to. Yesterday was an interesting day because already getting ready. I think a lot of people are. You know, you're busy during the day. You know, you're doing shopping, running a bunch of different errands, everybody getting ready, you know, for the Christmas holiday. I was doing the same thing. And it was funny because in the beginning of the day with the continuing resolution and the debate going on there, where are we going to go? And I was thinking to myself, where's Trump on this? And I'm thinking, is he just going to stay out of it because he's going to say, okay, this isn't the mountain I'm going to die on. Yeah, you know, that's what I was thinking, and then I started seeing it on social media. Now I'm running errands and stuff, and just like you're running errands. You get in the car, you're in the store, you come back out, you sit down, you look at your phone for 30 seconds, you scan it, like, and I saw a couple of I don't even know who they were, but I'm on social media, political people saying, "Sure, where's Trump on this? Why doesn't Trump come out?" And all of a sudden, boom!
Yeah.
And everything changes, which brings you to the question: what? And this to me is the biggest failure of Johnson. Why didn't he go to the White House? Why weren't they in constant communication before he ever came out with a continuing resolution? Why wasn't this something that he did 5 days ago, 6 days ago,
right,
as they were negotiating, saying, what do you want in what do you want in this? And be blunt. There is no political liability for Johnson coming out saying, "Yep, this is what they want, and we're throwing it by the incoming administration because they're the ones who are going to have to deal with it."
And the American people chose them in a clear, decisive way.
Yes, exactly.
And this is where we believe we need to be on this. We're going to workshop this with the transition team and find out what's good and bad in terms of what they want done and their agenda, because the president clearly has an agenda set forth by the American people. That's not that hard.
So at that point, you create unity at the party that you want.
Exactly.
Now, I don't know why Johnson didn't do that, because really it's more because I thought, okay, whose responsibility is it? And I said, well, it's actually Johnson because he's doing the negotiation. It's up to him to go, hey, you want to keep you want to be kept abreast of this? We want your input in this politically. Where do you think we can go? How far can we go on this? Now, look, we said they're not going to get everything that they ever wanted in this because they don't have control of the Senate.
Yeah.
So we all know that.
Right.
So, but still, the whole goal is political to get the unity of a unified Republican Party. Now, that's sort of like, well, who knows what will happen, but right now, the problem is Republicans infighting. It's not Republicans against Democrats, it's Republicans against Republicans, and you ask yourself, could that have been prevented? And that, to me, is politics 101.
Yeah.
This is politics 101, and so to me, that's actually Johnson's, biggest fault. You're not going to get everything you want in this thing. You're just not going to get it. You're not going to be able to do the cutting that Elon Musk and Ramaswamy want to do. You're not going to get that. They know you're not going to get it.
Right.
But what you need is some type of symbolism. And if you've got a unified Republican Party a week ago on this telling Democrats, no, you're not going to get this, then you can market it. You go out and however you're going to market it, you go to the American people and you say, here's what's going on. And you can even have Trump a part of that, too, coming up and saying it.
Well, in fact, I would say, look, Mr. President-elect, you're the lead here. You're the leader of the party.
Right.
And what we're doing in Congress really needs to be, as we try and hit the ground running in January, it needs to be your lead. Whatever it is going to be, it needs to be your agenda. And whatever you promised in your campaign, whatever you think the American people need in terms of this, we want to sit and listen to. I don't know how in the world that wasn't the case on Capitol Hill. It's like the speaker went rogue. It's like, what are you doing? Are you making these moves? Because when we see the Biden administration making all these moves before he's done, we know what's going on. You're setting him up for failure. You're setting Trump up for failure, or you're trying to. And with the case of the Speaker Johnson, it's like, what are you doing? Here you are, Speaker of the House. The House didn't win, in a big, massive landslide in terms of what they have.
They lost a seat.
And so there isn't this big parade to celebrate them where they outperformed Trump in any big way. No. So the agenda, in fact, if you look at the comeback, if you look at the swing between where we were, not only with the voters on the whole, but also the many in the GOP with Trump in recent years haven't been fully on board. And now he's, again, going in, built a consensus, at least through the voter, still working on building a consensus within his own party. And Johnson needs to be aware of that and understand what's going on. We know the role of Congress and the House in terms of the purse strings, but the agenda is set forth by the incoming president.
Because you know this is going to be this is going to be a problem, and you're not going to be able to get the cuts that the conservatives want. So what you do is, as we said before, they should have been doing this a week ago.
Right.
Where they said, okay, let's bring the president in, or early on say, Mr. President, we want you involved, in this particular process. What do you view as acceptable? How far can we go, and what will you endorse? Because we want your endorsement on this, because your endorsement will unite the party going in. We're not going to get everything that we want because we don't have the numbers to do so, but your endorsement will help push us, and you can be out there helping to, market this. And Johnson didn't do this. Now, that's number one, what you do, because you're not going to get everything you want in this continuing resolution. You're just not going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you do is you find out, okay, what do you want? Instead of last minute, the president coming in and saying no, and then all hell breaks loose, you could have prevented this if you said, look, we've won. Now we need to cooperate.
Yeah.
Now we need to, figure this out. So number one, that would be number one. Number two, it would have driven Democrats nuts because it's already driving Democrats nuts. They went ballistic, yesterday that Trump is involved in this. Well, I'll have the cut. I think it was Democratic Congressman Sean Casten who was saying, we've got 2 elected billionaires who are telling the American people that the government's going to shut down. I'll have that audio cut coming up. Yeah. And I just burst out laughing. It's like, well, no, these are you've got an elected billionaire who's coming in. This is going to be part of his administration. This budget's going to be part of, or this continuing resolution is part of him in January. So, yeah, he can advise the Republican Party as to what to do.
Yep.
But they're going crazy over that. And then it was with everything going on with Trump just everywhere. You and I were playing the audio cut. We'll have this too coming up. Scott Jennings, that the Democrats are going, well, it's like he's president now. It's like he's president now. And where's Biden? Why isn't Biden leading on any of this?
Yeah.
So you have an opportunity to unify the Republican Party and have the leftist media go crazy.
Yeah, I love it.
which is always a bonus.
Yeah.
So to me, the biggest disappointment is this was so simple. This isn't complicated. It's politics 101. The two idiots overnight can figure out,
exactly.
Okay, what do you do in this tough situation where you're not going to get exactly what you want, but you've got to remain unified as a Republican Party to do very challenging things come January 20th. Well, communicate with the White House. Don't have this last-minute thing come up.
Well,
don't keep them out of it. Bring them in early.
And you start there because the president can actually be the whip for you.
Yeah, that's a great point.
If you go in with a transition team, Mr. Trump, what is it that on your agenda that you would like to see happen here when it comes to spending? What is it? What are some items really key? We won't get everything. But let's put together something we can promote that says we made progress on your agenda. And then from that, we need you to call Chip Roy or whoever it might be, Boebert, whoever, all of them. We need your help in leveraging this so that we can. And by the way, you also work with them and say, all right, look, guys, we're not going to get everything. Let's make progress here. What is it? And you sit down with each of them. Where do we need to be? Well, then you get back to the whole Pete Sessions thing. Well, we can't make cuts here, we can't make cuts there, and we're not going to make cuts there. It's like, there's the problem. But I am confident you could get some things that the Trump administration, the incoming administration, could promote, that the GOP as a whole could promote in the House. Not everybody, but, many of them. And then you have something that appeals to Chip Roy. But Chip Roy can't risk lying down and becoming, politically John McCain.
And now, again, this is just what I saw.
Right.
But really, the three I saw yesterday was Nancy Mace, Chip Roy, and Rand Paul.
Yeah. Rand, I think we talked about Rand Paul yesterday on the show because he posted on X. He called out Speaker Johnson during our show yesterday on X, and so those were the big. You're right. In the news cycle yesterday, those were the names.
But
Boebert was out there too. But I mean, really, you want Chip Roy to still be able to say, I'm not happy with this,
right?
But it is a step in the right direction, and I'll take that over the, what we had before or whatever. I don't know because politically they're worried about getting slaughtered online too, where, all their constituents are saying, Well, you allowed that to happen. You allowed that to happen. You voted for this, and you didn't go the full measure. And that's where they are. This is the handful of conservatives, fiscal conservatives on Capitol Hill that we have left. And, I don't blame them for fighting the fight. It's what they got elected to do. Of course they should.
You and I were talking yesterday about the fact that, okay, enough of the cheerleading, the Doge cheerleading and rah, here we go. This is going to be, I don't like Messi. I don't like Messi. I don't like Messi. This is going to be messy, and there is going to be, I believe, warfare inside the Republican Party.
Yeah.
For people that sit there and think, oh, yeah, $2 trillion, we can cut that and there'd be no problem whatsoever. That's going to be huge problems inside the Republican Party on this. We're just putting out the warning for, Republicans and people that support the Republican Party to understand you cannot build a wasteful federal government that is so far from the American people, that puts in rules and regulations for budgeting that are almost impossible to get rid of,
right,
and think that you can cut $2 trillion without having a massive political war.
Right.
That's the only thing that we're bringing up.
And if everybody gets injured while sparring, there won't be a fight at the end. You're not going to get, so I don't know where it goes. But
the point is, if you see this over continuing resolution,
I know, yeah.
Which even if whatever the final agreement isn't going to cut.
Right. Exactly.
Understand the war inside the Republican Party that's going to be coming over the next 2 years if they are actually serious about this cutting.
Right.
866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. It pays to have a tire maintenance routine, especially during the winter driving season. Between black ice and heavy snowfall, winter weather can impact your tires and your productivity in a number of ways. Here's a tire maintenance tip to help you avoid downtime and roll safely through winter. Check your tire pressure during every pre-trip inspection and make sure they're properly inflated according to the manufacturer's recommendations. Cold weather naturally causes tire pressure to decrease, and underinflated tires can wear faster and impact your fuel efficiency. Maintaining proper tire pressure is essential to maximizing the performance, safety, and lifespan of truck tires.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. That's nice. Somebody liked my recommendation, my Christmas movie recommendation of 29th Street. Diane did, and liked it. 29th Street. There
Diane also sent us a very nice message the other day as well. Great listener, Diane. Thank you. Merry Christmas to us and our families and the whole thing. And she gets a lot from our show and helps her on her commute. And thank you, Diane. And, she responded to what, 29th Street?
29th Street. You should watch it. You would.
I've got it bookmarked. I've got it.
Okay, you would
in YouTube.
You and your wife would like this.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm telling you, you'd like it.
Yeah.
I know the kind of stuff you would like.
Yeah.
And because it is hilarious, but at the end, it is about ultimate love from a massively dysfunctional family.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Everybody tries to build this picture perfect thing, and look, we're all flawed. And I love those types of movies, where it all comes together in the end. I love that. I can't wait to watch that after John Wick 4, of course, the ultimate Christmas movie. And I still got to watch Die Hard this season. I think we're going to get that in this weekend. I've watched some clips. So we got a full schedule on the TV.
What about White Christmas? Sisters.
One of my daughters loves that movie. Loves that movie.
Jingle all the way with Red Eye Radio. Merry Christmas to you and yours.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right. Enough already. My Christmas story will be on tomorrow's show.
Yeah.
All right.
Quit your begging.
I'm getting pounded with it now. Where's the guillotine story? The guillotine Christmas story.
Right.
And the best part is, what I love is the people that don't know the story that, what the hell is a guillotine Christmas story?
Yeah. You're going to find out.
You're going to find out. But as you get older, Christmas gifts come in different forms.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I'm not looking to get, I'm not looking to get any toys.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not really looking to get.
I am looking at a larger RV, but not for Christmas. I'm just going to buy it because I want it.
Well, there are some toys that I wouldn't mind getting. I mean, if I could get, I saw one of the, I saw it online, and it was the hockey game under a dome, because I had one when I was a kid.
Right.
But it's really, really, really sophisticated and electronic with a scoreboard.
Right.
It was like $6,000.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
okay. If it was $400, I might consider it. But I've often also thought about one of the puck bowling machines, or the ones that the arcade.
Yeah.
But
sure.
it'd be a waste of time.
We had a couple of those over the years that we bought for the kids at Christmas. When they were small. And we at the time we lived a block and a half from three of my nephews. So we had an in-ground pool, we had a game room with all those kind of games and everything else. And our point was, look, we spend this money at Christmas time. You don't have to go spend $200 a week at Dave & Buster's or whatever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You don't have to. And the fact that you've got all this entertainment for the kids at home. It's work for Dad, of course, cleaning the pool, but that's only part of the year. It's only 11 and a half months out of the year in Texas. But, it's I love those games. I didn't love putting them together necessarily. Now, a couple of them were just, you slide it out of the box, and it was almost nothing. But there was the one basketball game. It's like the kind you see at Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
And you throw it, and then it just comes right back to you. That thing took forever. It took forever.
Well, what I saw about a week ago, I went, wow, I want that. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the baskets that you hook up above the door.
Yeah.
But there's this modern scoreboard.
Oh, yeah.
Right there with actually a video screen. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Now, I'd never use it. But it's like that's the kid in me saying,
right.
I want that.
That's cool, yeah.
It's like $900. I'm like, well, no, I thought it might be $75 or something.
Right.
It's like $900. No, I don't think so. You know what gift I never got as a kid?
Huh.
It was called Bowl-O-Rama, and there was this little plastic guy that had he would bowl it, and there was an automatic ball return. The ball would come back.
Okay.
And when I was a kid, I was obsessed with automatic pin setters in bowling alleys.
Yeah.
I just thought that was the best thing ever, how the pins could be, wiped out. That bar comes and pushes them all back, and then it loads automatically. And they made it seem like it was an automatic pin setter, and it wasn't. It was, you actually had to drop the pins in there yourself.
Yeah, right.
It did clear them back, but then you had to go back and pick them up and set them in. I'm like, no. But when I thought that there was actually an automatic pin setter with that little plastic guy that threw the bowling ball down the lane, I wanted that more than anything. And I was never a bowler. I mean, I probably bowled, 10 times in my life. Maybe I had 120 once.
Yeah,
I was just never a bowler. And my friends growing up in Buffalo, all my great guy friends were all bowlers, and but I wanted that little thing there. But as you get to be an adult, Christmas presents come in different forms.
Yeah.
Now, I am also giving this to you. This is a Christmas present to you.
Okay. I'll take it.
This is Dick Durbin. It's an audio cut. Dick Durbin talking to a CNN reporter.
That Dick Durbin, huh?
Yes, that Dick. Yes,
the same one.
Yes,
Yeah,
the same Dick Durbin, who compared U.S. troops to the mass genocidal murderer Paul Pot.
Yeah.
Back in 2007, 2008, whenever he did that. Yeah.
Right.
Yet he still keeps getting elected. But he actually had a great response. I got it. Look, if it's a great response, you gotta be honest. But this was one of my favorite Christmas gifts, because he's talking to a CNN reporter who is questioning him about the pay raise in the continuing resolution for members of Congress. Now, it seems as if Dick Durbin didn't know about it when he was asked the question, because, again, that was the House, not the Senate.
Right.
But he was asked the question, and they go into a back and forth, and the last response from Dick Durbin is absolutely fantastic. It is my Christmas gift to you, Eric.
All right.
Here we go. And to myself. Here we go.
Members are giving themselves a pay raise. Do you guys deserve a pay raise?
Well, that's news to me. It's good news. You know, what has it been, 10 years or 14 years and no COLA, no change at all? I think it's about time something's done.
You support giving yourselves a pay raise?
How would I not know about a pay raise?
But I mean, people look at the performance of Congress and say, why should we give them more money?
What about the media? Think about that for a second.
And we're not paid by public money.
I know you're not, but I mean, half of your listeners are not there anymore. You're still getting the same paycheck?
Wow. Oh, wow. Has he been hanging out at Mar-a-Lago?
Half your listeners are gone, and you're still getting the same paycheck.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Because, by the way, I do think of that every once in a while. I think of, you see the contracts that people are making, these people that at cable news outlets that have very low numbers of people watching.
Stephanopoulos, it was in Vanity Fair.
Oh, the extension? His contract?
They didn't talk about the extension. They talked about the fact that he wants to quit.
Oh.
But $18 million he's making.
He's making 18, okay. I know they extended it. I think it was earlier this year.
He's making $18 million. And Vanity Fair claims that he may leave. And they're talking about the fact that, I can't think of the other host that's on, was it Today? That left because they wanted to give her a pay cut. Mm-hmm. And they want to keep Stephanopoulos, but he's not useful being on in the mornings because they want to talk fluff. And, he doesn't fit. But I'm like, he's making $18 million? Are you telling me that they're getting... now, they're saying that it's not the cash cow that it used to be.
Right. The morning TV stuff
million?
used to crush it in advertising.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. By the way, the key demo, 18 to 49, but specifically 18 to 49 females. So it tells me, I don't know where that demo is. I haven't looked at the breakdown of morning show TV. I don't watch GMA because there's always a risk.
It's GMA, okay.
Yeah. I don't watch GMA because there's always a risk that I'll fall asleep with the TV on and wake up and it'll be The View, which comes on right after. I'm not. No, it's not going to happen. But I think of that. It's like, wait a minute. And at cable news, the same thing.
Yeah.
Millions and millions and millions and millions. Where's the audience?
Yeah. When you see you're talking about it at times, audiences at CNN right now, because they just went down again. I forgot which cable network's beating them, but you're talking about, 300,000-400,000, people watching.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, my God, that's not worth $10 million. That's not worth $8 million. By the way, this is not based on jealousy. It's based on business models.
Right.
It's based on the advertising that comes in.
Because exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
How do you monetize that and justify that through monetization? Where's, my gosh, what are advertisers paying per point?
Yeah.
It's got to be through the roof. Because I look at the, speaking of monetizing things, like content creators on YouTube. There are channels that I subscribe to, and they get a couple of them well over 1 million a week. They do put out 3 episodes per week, 3 videos per week. Two of them specifically. They put out 3 per week. Most YouTubers, I think it's less. I think it's 1 per week. But many of them get hundreds of thousands of people per view. So on any given day, with any given video, they're outperforming any given day of cable news. And they're not getting paid, there isn't a corporation. YouTube doesn't write the checks. It comes through advertising. It's a different business model. But still, the point is monetizing it in a way where, again, it only stands to reason their cost per point with such a low ratings has to be through the roof. And I don't know how that's justified. Maybe we're reaching the end of that with more and more contracts being renewed or, people leaving because they're not going to, they're going to have to take a pay cut or whatever.
Thing is, I don't even know which morning show is on where because I am always asleep when the morning shows are on.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And that's been for the last, 20 years. Well,
Right.
20 years is July.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been up in the morning. I go
Right.
to sleep as soon as I get home, and by the time I wake up, they're all gone. And so if you hear my confusion, it's because that's just something I
haven't
never
watched
see.
network TV in I don't know how long. It's been years, with the exception of maybe an event where they were streaming something also on one of their social media channels.
Yeah, that would be the only time I would catch it.
I don't watch network TV. I mean, I can, but I just don't. I watch all streaming. I'm very selective about what I watch. That's why we have Newsbusters. We leverage their dedication to having to watch all this garbage, and we get it through them. We're grateful to have them. I can't imagine. It would just drive me nuts. And that's primarily why I don't watch it. There's just no way. My dad said he quit watching. My dad's 91. He quit watching the evening news, he said, a few years ago. And we grew, you and I grew up in an era where Dad, everybody hush, evening news is on, right? And not that they sit, and take everything, to be 100% accurate, even back then, but it was how you got your news. I remember when CNN came on, and after the first Gulf War started, I went to dinner with some friends, and they said, well, what are you going to do tonight? I said, go home and watch the war, because CNN basically was doing full-time Gulf War stuff, and that's where cable news really started to make, its name. But now the problem is that I don't trust anything from anybody. I don't fully trust anything from anybody, any media group anymore. There are some I trust more than others, but I don't fully trust any of them when I'm looking at something. I mean, breaking news is one thing, but I have to go to several sources to make sure that you're getting the complete picture. I mean, that's where we are as a nation, though. That's where everybody is. It's just there's no trust in Dick Durbin. You get to keep the same pay, and half of your audience is gone. Oh, my gosh. He's hanging out at Mar-a-Lago. What's it? That's a Trump type of quote. You're horrible. You're horrible. Just ask Dick Durbin. He knows. Oh, my God.
Because that was a shot at CNN.
It really was, yeah. But they all see it. They all know it. The left is imploding, and we're all watching it happen.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. One of the things you and I brought up this hour is Speaker Johnson should have consulted and then marketed. He should have consulted President Trump and then marketed. Look, Trump is behind all of this. I just saw Newsmax yesterday. He said, I was in constant contact with President Trump and his team, chief of staff, and all the domestic policy advisors. They know exactly what we're doing and why. Well, that wasn't good enough. You needed to market and get him aboard and do that a week ago and say that. You don't say it after it falls apart.
Well,
you say it beforehand that we are in contact with the president, with the incoming president. That's what you do. And so to do it afterwards is a waste of time.
I mean, that's where you start in the media, also in the hallways at the Capitol.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
I'm working with Trump on this.
Yep.
So we're not going to get everything that he wants, but we all need to work with Trump on, again, let Trump be the whip here, even if Trump doesn't have to make one phone call.
You're right.
You know, I mean, it's just insane.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, this audio cut's a couple of days old, but I want to play it. And it was Scott Jennings with Democratic strategist Julie Roginski talking about the media influence. And this is just greatness here. Here we go. All right.
What media are you talking about that's anti-Trump?
You're not familiar with the anti-Trump media?
You're not familiar with the fact that you guys control for everything
of
from
all
podcasts?
the things I've heard you say out here, that might be the nuttiest.
Scott,
I mean, believe me, there's plenty of anti-Trump media.
Scott, I'm trying to pay conservatives. What I'm basically trying to say is that you guys have taken.
She's right, though.
Yeah.
I mean, there is an anti-Trump media, as we all know.
Right.
But they're now panicking. This is something that you and I saw a ways back, and it's not the traditional way that it's being done. I mean, this really, when you look at the media that is becoming more conservative and populist, or conservative / populist, it's all organic on the internet.
Yep.
This is organic stuff.
Right.
And they don't know what to do. And they know they're losing their influence. I guess the CNN numbers came in again. You saw that, right? I mean, well, Dick Durbin knows it.
Wow.
This from Breitbart. The results are in for the 2024 cable news ratings. And this was from John Nolte, Breitbart. And I'm thrilled to report that the far-left CNN hit some well-deserved all-time lows. When I say all-time lows, I mean the lowest lows in CNN's 44-year history.
Wow. Yeah,
Better still, you will see below things have only gotten much, much worse for CNN and MSNBC since they lost the 2024 presidential election last month. Wow. CNN, and this would be for total primetime viewers. MSNBC, 807,000. They're up 5%. Now, that's the entire year. Okay, not post-election.
Right.
CNN, 488,000.
Wow.
Minus 3%. That's, okay, excuse me. Let me get this right. I'm sorry. That is total day viewers. Okay, 807,000. Prime time, MSNBC 1.7 million, up 5%. CNN was 700,000, up 21%. But then it all came down afterwards. And their 25 to 54 age demo down drastically. Post-election, CNN's primetime demo You ready?
All right.
Down to 77,000 people. Remember, you have to understand. Prime time, yes. I think they'd be 25 to 54.
Yeah.
77,000. MSNBC, 57,000.
Wow.
In total primetime viewers, MSNBC has lost 55% of its viewers with an average of just 620,000. That's total viewers. While 45% of CNN's primetime viewers left, 405,000 primetime viewers. Again, those numbers are post-election.
Wow. Well, there are a number of things that are going on here. I think the biggest of which this year you can pin straight on. You guys have been shills, and look, we've been seeing it forever. The conservatives have been observing this clown show since it began, and we know it for what it is. But more and more Americans who just haphazardly, well, see what happens here. Let's see what happens here. That would be more of CNN, not MSNBC. It's the left that's watching MSNBC. So there's a couple of things going on in a big way that, again, this erosion of the trust in the media. I don't know how there was ever full trust in the media, but this erosion of the trust. Beyond that, liberals are leaving MSNBC as viewers. Then you throw in the fact that everybody's cutting the cable.
Yeah.
They're just abandoning cable and satellite TV. And, you're seeing that consolidation now. What's interesting is now they all have a greater social media presence because you have to be able to monetize that as well. You kind of put that out. Anderson Cooper, everybody's doing their own podcast separate of their show. They're doing all of these things, trying to maintain or regain an audience. But the fact of the matter, too, is we are, thank you, Elon Musk, we are the media now. And you and I have been saying it, the truth is right there. Now you've got a computer in your hand. Everyone from the age of 7 up has a computer. How you use it is up to you. You can do your own fact-checking. You don't need the media to feed you things, or if you want to watch that, you can instantly say, is that true, and find the facts. The media hates all of this. The left really hates people being informed. They hate that. Remember, I forget which college it was, Obama, a commencement speech. Now, don't go out there and, trust all these computers and whatnot. Basically, now, we don't want you getting smart, actually learning something
I remember
when you
that,
leave college. But that's the problem that they have, is that for the longest time, it's like, hey, look, we've got celebrities. Look, P. Diddy is here to do a concert. Oh, wait, that's not working anymore. Wait, we'll do, wait. And they just created this facade of nothingness that conservatives saw the whole time, trying to build the rock star, believe him because he's cool. Believe her because, she's with the in crowd, however you want to compartmentalize it. And they thought they could get away with anything and everything. And the liberal activist media was carrying all the water. And now there's no trust in those on the left by many on the left. I mean, the leftist activist media. And many on the left, they don't want to, sorry, we can't sit and watch Joy Reid anymore. We can't, and over and over and over again. They're getting burned. The thing about Stephanopoulos, a story came out, and I don't know if it's true, but it was a source story, that came out. It was New York Post exclusive that said Stephanopoulos was told not to use the word rape when he was talking about Donald Trump. And yet he insisted on doing it. Again, that's a source story in the New York Post. If that story is accurate, but we've seen the activism that goes on. Whether it's true with Stephanopoulos in this case, we don't know, but it wouldn't be hard to believe because we see this activism over and over and over and over and over and over and over. They throw everything they've lied. When everybody woke up and looked around, Michael Rappaport, by the way, is the poster child for this because he was a diehard, angry liberal, and then woke up in 24 and said, oh, my gosh, they were lying to me, and that's on me, but they were lying to us the whole time on Charlottesville and everything else. And they recognize the left and the leftist media for what they are. And now you're in a place where I don't know how you rebuild it if you're in one of these media groups. I think it's very telling that the parent company is spinning off MSNBC along with some other properties because they're probably getting to the end of the rope on that monetization, even though they say, well, they're still performing and blah, 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 blah. Somebody's going to have to do something drastically different with them if it's going to be the future of cable, if there is a future in cable.
When I look at this year, the biggest political story by far, and it may be the biggest political story in modern history for the United States, is Trump's victory, because that was unprecedented. I think the most impactful thing that has happened in this country, though, is, and you, by the way, what you just stated there has sent my mind into like 10 different directions that we'll cover here. Mm-hmm. But I think the most impactful thing that has happened in the United States is what's happening in the media, the return of free speech. I said it the other day that I would rather live in a country that everybody has a say, which they do now on X. Anybody can be a political opinion writer now.
Yep.
And that's never happened in American political history to this kind of level.
Right. By the way, that's a great point in the way that you phrased it.
Yeah. Everyone can do it. Now, they're probably, I'd have to go through every single post, and that's impossible on X, but probably the majority of them are ridiculous. A lot of them probably have ignorant opinions, but a ton of them are completely accurate, asking the right questions and putting out the truth. There are people that have made it, that have millions of followers that were completely unknown 3 or 4 years ago, and no corporation or media outlet made them popular. They didn't have real estate.
Right. Yeah, right.
They created their own real estate.
Yep.
And again, some, like I said, you go to TikTok and, people can get 10 million views by being idiots. And
exactly.
And the same thing on X.
Right.
But if you're looking for the truth, it's easy to discount them and go, oh, I don't care about them. Okay, unfollow them. I like this. You can spend a couple minutes of the day and you can get the truth.
Yeah.
You can get the truth,
right.
And you can look at it,
right.
And you can also express what you believe. It drives the left's nuts.
Yeah.
When Elon Musk says, you are the media.
Yeah.
Because it takes their elitism, it drives their elitism and their narcissism. It drives them, those characteristics of the leftist media, it drives them nuts. You and I talked about it a couple of weeks ago and said, well, the leftist media is going crazy. Eric, do you object with anybody saying that when they're on Twitter that I'm the media? Are you offended by that in any way? It's like, no. Why the hell would I be offended by it?
No.
It's like, well, you're out there, you're proclaiming thing on a public forum. Yeah, you're part of the media too now. It's changed. It's just not who the political parties and the major media want, choose to be the spokespeople for certain ideologies. It is people on their own, individual, separate from anything.
Yeah.
Just their own autonomy is creating it. That is the most wonderful thing, because I would rather have 100 million voices speaking, even if 80 million of them are complete BS, but I got 20 million out there where you can actually find the truth. And
because the truth always rises to the surface.
Right, it does. And people know what the truth is.
And it stands the test, because that's the thing, what I love about community notes. There's the test, right? If you throw something out that's bogus and it starts coming back at you. But, that's the whole thing. I've said it before, but journalism plays a critical role in a free society, real journalism. But you think about what's the essence of journalism. It's finding the truth, finding the real story, finding the truth. And you have the ability now to do that like never before. And also, as you mentioned, write your opinion about it.
Give me that. Give me, and I don't know what the numbers are, but I probably am exaggerating them in a negative in order to make a point.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 100 million voices out there where 80 million are full of it, but 20 million are accurate. Give me that any day of the week over a government and a media which is in cahoots with the government to form a cartel, a media cartel of what is the truth and what is disinformation.
Right.
Give me the first one any day of the week over the second one.
We've had calls. Oh, the media controls everything now more than ever. They control everything. They control everything.
No, they don't.
They wanted, up until recently, they still want you to believe that they do. That's why they put on that air that, we control everything. We control all the messages. They actually don't, because of the ability of technology. It allows you to find the truth for yourself. They wanted you to believe that. Look, don't go looking for the truth like Obama. Don't get on that fancy computer of yours and go find the facts. But the fact is, it's everywhere. The truth will rise to the surface. It sometimes will land right in front of you. You just have to open your eyes and want to see it.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Owner-operators can save a hefty amount of money by participating in discount fuel networks. If you're leased and your fleet has a fuel optimizer program, use it. Such a program helps plan a trip based on fuel prices and locations in the carrier's fuel network. The larger the carrier, typically the larger the discounts that are possible. Fees for using such networks have become rare thanks to competition for drivers. Owner-operators are well advised, however, to pass up network fuel stops that are too costly, are too far off route, sell inferior fuel, or are dangerously or poorly maintained. For independent owner-operators, a bevy of fuel discount networks exists, from a variety of traditional fuel cards to the National Association of Small Trucking Companies network and the younger mudflap applications discounts at independent truck stops around the nation. Research the options and discounts available to find the right one for you. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Don't worry, we'll get to inflation coming up here in a little bit and the Fed rate cut. But just I really think that, as we approach the end of the year, because tomorrow's our last day, just looking over this last year, I really think that the most impactful story is the change in the media. Where we have gone.
Yeah.
Because I think you fully saw it with the election of Trump. You fully saw it. You saw the fact that media has changed in the United States to where it's never been before, and it's a positive.
Yeah.
Because you're moving much more towards free speech.
Right.
And you have it where you have a public that is able to vent. If you want to vent, you have the ability to vent now. You can go on Twitter. You can get your own account. Right. You can put out what you want. You may only have 20 people that are paying attention. Now, Facebook may not be the place to do it. I got a buddy of mine that's always pounding on Facebook. Nobody comments anymore.
Yeah, right.
Because Facebook is it. But X, that's why that exists.
Yep.
We'll talk more coming up.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose.
I love that music.
I know. And I'm sorry. I mean, the music went to the end. It really does. This is the one time of the year where I can lose focus on the show.
Right.
The Christmas music comes on, and it puts you into a different world. It's
right,
like,
yeah.
Oh, this is so wonderful. This is so not. Oh. All right. We're doomed. Everything sucks.
Exactly.
The problem with the world is we have a list,
and we're checking it twice.
What we're talking about, though, where the media is going, is actually a positive. I mean, there are huge positives right now, and I think the biggest positive, one of the biggest and one of the most impactful stories is where the media has gone. Now, understand that when we talk about X, for example, in social media, you know, X is a major corporation run by technically not a corporation, if you're interested, but it is a major company owned by the richest man in the world. Mm-hmm. But the richest man in the world believes that his business model is free speech.
Yeah.
And free speech and community notes. You know, okay, forget about having so-called people in there, you know, so-called paid people in there to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Let the public do it.
Right.
And that is wonderful. It doesn't mean that there isn't going to be media influence, for example. I mean, we're owned by a major corporation.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But as we've said before, and I think the audience knows it, but, you know, knows it by now, that most, you know, you have a wide variety of radio talk show hosts that are employed by corporations. As we have told our audience many times before, only once has anybody in management ever told me what to do, and I told him where he could, you know, It was an individual. It wasn't like an edict that came down.
Right.
But we have never been told that we can't say what we believe on the air, ever.
Right.
Just it doesn't happen. That's where, for example, conservative talk radio and the corporations, and I have worked for, you and I both have worked for companies that the management is liberal. We work for Disney. We work for ABC Disney for a number of years. How long?
Right.
Well, how long was it? What was it? 10 years, I think I was there. 9 years?
I was with them. I was a Disney employee for 11 years. So,
okay.
Yeah, I have to go back.
Yeah, I think I was like 8 or 9, I think it was.
Yeah.
I was there at least 5 because I got my pin. I got my 5-year pin on the air.
Right.
Which I said, wow. On the air. I said, wow, a goofy pin. They go, Gary, it's Pluto.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know, you can't get more, as we all know, you can't get more liberal from Disney, but we were a separate division, and they let us alone completely because it was down to, can you guys make money?
Well, and again, we've also taled about how we've never been told certain things. You think about for Forget the community notes, the legal notes over at The View.
We've never had to do a legal note.
Because, we understand the responsibility that comes with what we do, but we didn't have to have, okay, this is what you must do and this is what no one had to teach me that. You just have to be thoughtful in your approach to begin with. That's why, and you said it the other day, and I think it's a great point. These people aren't broadcasters. These, people in the leftist media and on The View, they don't understand broadcasting. But even the ones that do, again, the report that from the New York Post that Stephanopoulos, again, it's a source report. We can't confirm it. It's being reported by the New York Post that he insisted on, after being directed not to use the word rape, that he insisted on using it anyway. And again, if that's accurate and true, it shows, and he's in broadcasting, but then again, look at where he came from. He's a political operative. And if that is true, then you see the makeup of that individual and the motivation, the motive behind what they're doing. For us, I don't have to be told what not to do. We know where those boundaries are.
And so you're going to have major corporations involved in the promotion of personalities that can make them money. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the corporation being involved. There's nothing wrong with corporate conservative radio.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
Now, you may not like a particular host because there's all different types of hosts, as we know. Mm-hmm. But that's the beauty of it. It's the individual. Mm-hmm. And the beauty about talk radio, which I believe was a catalyst because conservative talk radio believes in everything that's happening. Conservative talk radio hosts, for the most part, there may be always the exception to the rule. I have nobody in mind, by the way, in particular. No. But as we said, I could care less that Twitter exists and that the average person gets to have their say. The last thing that I'm worried about, or I know you're worried about, is somebody who organically goes on Twitter and next thing you know, they become a media celebrity promoting the things that they believe.
Right.
And I think what's happening is tremendous. There's still a lot of corporate involvement to make money in it, but that's fine. I think that's wonderful that we live in a country where you can promote the things that you believe as an individual and you can make a living at it and stockholders can be rewarded for it. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You and I talked about it yesterday, putting perspective into corporations and technology and artificial intelligence and everything else, because we've gone off the deep end, so many of us. I won't say us, so many, because I don't think we're included in it. And this was talking about, the assassination murder of the CEO. Mm-hmm. The generic, these corporations, well, it justifies murder because they're in a corporation, which is just asinine. It's asinine, it's childish, it's destructive, and it's not true.
Right.
And that's why yesterday when we were talking about it, we mentioned this a few times, we live in a society where technology has made it so we live like billionaires, except for real estate and maybe some better modes of transportation. Mm-hmm. That, they didn't have refrigeration. They didn't have electricity. They didn't we live like billionaires did 150 years ago, all due to technology.
Right.
So this fear of technology, we talked about that, is ridiculous. It's, again, no technology is evil. People may use it for evil, but no technology itself is evil. Just like money is not the root of all evil.
Right.
That's the biggest lie of a statement ever.
Right.
Evil people are the root of all evil. Mm-hmm. Money is simply a tool.
Right.
But when you say things like that, people take it in. Well, you got money, therefore you must be evil. When the whole concept in capitalism, as we all know, is you as an individual acquire wealth, then you can control where you go in your life and nobody owns you. Now, I don't know anything more pure than that.
Right.
When it comes down to it, when we talk about purity of ideology, I don't know of a more pure ideology that you can live in a free society, you can express what you believe, you can acquire wealth through your hard work, you get to keep more of it, and then you get to decide what you do in your life, and no other damn elitist, arrogant, narcissist media person like Arrogant Gary, or politician get to dictate what you do in your life. And the same thing, what we're seeing, I think, in the media now, because as I said, I'd rather have, and I like the way that I put it because I think it's a little bit more negative, but I'm making it more negative on purpose. I'd rather have 100 million people telling you what they believe, and 80 million are full of it and 20 million are not, than the media government cartel of putting together the disinformation board where they articulate and they tell you, well, we're the experts and, we're the media and we're above you and we know better because we have Ivy League colleges, blah, blah, blah. You're full of crap. It doesn't matter whether you're paid for it as a politician or a media person. It's the substance, whether you have substance or not. That's all that matters. And you can be paid and have great substance, and you can be not paid and part of social media and have great substance also.
Yeah, I mean, I think I look at what John Kerry said a couple of months ago.
Frightening.
It is the scariest thing to hear when someone says it out loud. We know that they think it. Then when they say it out loud and they start promoting it, that the First Amendment, that free speech gets in the way of their agenda on the left. It blocks us. He used the word blocked or block. Those are the thoughts. By the way, I'm glad he said it out loud. Very glad he said it out loud.
And Hillary, too.
And Hillary talking about it. Because it's exactly what I was saying earlier. They don't want you to be the media. They don't want you to find the truth. They also don't want you talking about it. Because when you talk about it, when you repeat the truth, here's the thing, the difference between truth and lies. The lies often have to change because they're challenged, right?
Mm-hmm.
The narrative will change. The story changes. This is why in investigation techniques, you go back and you question a person multiple times and see if anything in their story changed. If it seems to be evolving on a regular basis over time, then they're lying, likely. Well, those lies, because they're going to be challenged, in today's world especially, they can't live on without changing. The truth doesn't change. It's the truth. It's always the truth. And when you repeat it, when you put it there, regardless of who you are, when you put it out there and it stands the test of all the challenges and doesn't change, that's the test. That's the whole thing of community notes. By the way, the left should be on board with the whole thing on X because the first word in community notes is commune.
By the way, for relatively new listeners, when I said Arrogant Gary, that came because they may not know where that came from. That came from a long time ago when I kept saying, welcome to Red Eye Radio, Eric and Gary. And I would say it fast, and it came out.
Said,
Eric and Gary.
You're saying Arrogant
Gary?
Arrogant Gary?
Why would somebody call himself Arrogant Gary?
Arrogant Gary.
Yeah.
We almost made T-shirts out of that. But it's, or I did anyway. But those are the things, because they still want you to believe. I think it was Joy Behar the other day that was trying to, and I forget what it was on, trying to make you believe that your eyes weren't seeing what your eyes are seeing. This has been going on with the left for a long, long time. But this year it really came to this massive peak, whether it was Biden and whatever's going on with his cognitive issues or inflation. It's transitory. The border's secure. all of these things that were blatantly obvious, that were playing out in right before you, right before your eyes, either virtually, online, or in your own community. Crime is on the rise. Crime's not on the rise, and it turns out, it's on the rise. They want you to believe you're too stupid to see what you're actually seeing, let alone the ability. I forget it's the CEO of one of the liberal media groups about a month ago that was screaming, "You're not the effing media," after Elon Musk said that.
I know, yes,
I
remember that.
So angry.
Yeah. Like,
you are the media.
Yeah.
You have the ability to find the truth, and you'll know it when you see it.
And promote what the truth is.
Exactly.
Yeah. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. So one of the biggest positives, and I think it's important to bring it up as we come to the end of the year. Tomorrow's our last show here for the year to talk about, one of the best things that's happened, which is the diversification of the media.
Yeah, right.
Which, and the power now, not just of conservative voices. You look at Joe Rogan, for example. I think Joe Rogan, he makes a ton of money, but he did a great service because he helped push that independent podcast thing. And look, Joe Rogan, I don't agree with him. There's a ton of things I don't agree with him on, but he's somebody who's willing to listen. I mean, he was a Bernie Sanders supporter,
right?
But what does he do? He brings out ideas.
Right.
That's wonderful.
Have a discussion.
Absolutely wonderful.
Right.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to one and all. Well, most of you. Lob that out there. To you and most of your family, we wish you a pretty decent, better than average Christmas. I always wanted to do, the giveaway. It was inevitably, if you're in radio, you can win tickets to, whatever it is, the game for a family of 4. Win a trip for a family of 4. I always wanted to do, win a trip for a family of 3, but we have 2 kids. Sophie's choice. Listen, you're going to have to make a decision here. It's for a family of 1, and good luck. It's all coming together. I'm really looking forward to actually sitting down, hanging out with my grown kids, doing a little bit of nothing next week. Our friend Dan Mandis, such a trooper. He's going to be filling in while we're gone. Marconi Award winner. And great guy. We're very lucky to have him available to us and also willing to do it.
And I knew, I'm old enough. I knew Marconi.
Exactly.
And he would approve of Dan.
I was going to say, he probably
approved of Dan, yes.
Yeah. And that's just in. But, it's interesting in a way because the listeners are also our family. I know that sounds cheesy, but it's true. We have this great relationship with our listeners, with our audience, and what we do here, which is also a real blessing to be able to do that for a living. But being away from it, it's not just not being able to vent every night and come in and talk about whatever's going on, but it's also, the fact that we take that relationship very seriously and cherish that, and so it is going to seem, after such the cycle just never ended. Such a busy year and so much chaos. It's going to seem weird. I remember last Play It Shay, Billy Joel saying, it's weird because I get off stage and for, a couple hours, people are, tens of thousands of people are singing my songs with me, cheering me on. They're there to see me. It's my name on the ticket. The show ends. I get in the van, and they take me home. In that case, he didn't live too far. They take me home, and by 1 a.m., I'm just another schlub sitting in front of the TV watching infomercials, So it's that kind of that. This has been a really hot year in terms of everything that was going on politically and in our society, and so many important issues. And I really believe, I said it for a couple of years, 24 is a crossroads year. We've got to make a number of decisions of how we're going to be as a society, what we're going to allow, what we're going to accept, and what we're not. And we did, but I still haven't gotten to the point of taking the breather yet, and that's going to be weird.
Well, isn't it interesting? Did you ever think you could compartmentalize everything as a talk show host? I know that when I first got into talk radio was more of an operator thing.
Yeah, right.
Let's ask the question of the day.
Right.
So, toilet paper.
Yeah.
Side up or underneath.
Right.
Or what's your favorite rock band? I mean, That's what talk radio, a lot of it early on, started out as.
The movie Zodiac, about the Zodiac killer, there was a moment in that where they just had a fictitious, you could hear it as they're showing the shot of the city, a fictitious talk radio host doing exactly that. Well, who do you think it is? What do you think's going on? And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of a survey type thing.
And yeah, exactly. And I remember early on, because what was going on early in talk radio, and this is after the fairness doctrine was thrown out, which was a good thing because it had nothing to do with fairness.
Right.
It had to do with stifling talk or stifling opinion, is when Rush came out, a lot of stations wanted the local talk show host not to be like him and be political. And there was a big thing, well, get involved in your listeners' lives and ask some questions about what they do in the morning. And, and it got to be, I thought it got to be uninteresting. I know that.
Right.
And then as I always, said, well, it's talk radio. I mean, it's, and understanding any media, it's what really Rush, for example. Rush became popular because he was the content.
Yeah, right.
He provided the content.
Right.
You were a content provider. Even in music radio, when I was in music radio before I was forced into talk, it was content. It was content. You provide the content. And then when talk radio, the modern talk radio began in the really 88 when Rush went national, and then the stations. I mean, I remember, I don't know if people remember this, but God rest his soul, but when Rush first came out, I remember I was the station manager, and I was not yet in talk radio. I didn't enter talk radio till 89, I wasn't forced into being a talk radio host till 89, and Rush came out in 88, and I wanted him for our station. And the owner said no.
Yeah.
He was that controversial because he was talking politics and a conservative viewpoint, but having a blast with it, using sound effects, doing a bunch of different things that were viewed as, I mean, you think about it, 88 offensive Well, let's put it this way. Married with Children, they wanted off the air.
Oh, yeah.
Now
And The Simpsons.
Right, and The Simpsons, right.
Right.
And so Rush came in, and I remember, and I said, no, we have to take him. This is different. We're going to move to talk because everybody knew I was station manager of an AM station. We're moving there. She wouldn't do it.
Mm.
And I understand why, because this is too much of a leap. And
It was a huge leap.
I understood it, and it wasn't my station, so I don't care.
Right.
I mean, the worst I can do is get fired. I don't have a huge investment. I still believe it would have been the right thing to do, but I understand why she didn't. And then a year later, she told me, you need to be in talk radio. And God rest her soul, when she died, I did communicate with her a few months before. And every time I communicated with her, I had to tell her, thank you, Sue, for making me do talk radio. That was expected. Go as if I had to. She put out her hand. I had to kiss her ring.
Exactly.
Thank you for making me do it. Thank you. See, and she told me, she said, I knew you could do it. I knew you had it, within you. You just had to be pushed to do it. And I said, I didn't know I could do it because I didn't want to do it. It's not what I ever wanted to do.
Right.
Which shows you how clueless you are as to what you can do in your life.
Right.
You have no idea. And I tell this to people all the time, whether they're in their 30s, whether they're in their 40s, even their 50s. You don't know how you can reinvent yourself.
Right.
You don't know. And I was forced to do so, and I fought it for the longest time. But, so Rush was in it, and then so the people want to hire, other people. It's like, okay, do interviews. You do interviews with other people and make sure you cover both sides of the issue. And then that's when talk radio, people may not remember it, it was like stations would have one conservative host, one liberal host, one conservative, one then moderate host. And what they found out is conservative talk radio would get the ratings and liberal talk radio would not.
Right.
But one of the reasons was the fact that it's a format. What they fail to realize is you can't play country music 1 hour and classical music the next hour. And it's the same thing in talk radio.
Right.
People wanted it. And so, but in the very beginning, it was viewed as, when you were doing local talk, you got to make sure you do fluff, make sure you do fluff, make sure you do fluff. And we at the station I was at, even when I became a talk show host, I rejected that a little bit. I was like, not that I wouldn't do it, but it was like, nah, I want to talk about the things that it seemed like, because when you did interviews, people, you could tell people would call, that guest was full of it. And I'm like, okay, they want entertainment.
Right.
They don't want you to be, hello, welcome to the show. We're so glad you're here. And coming up at 10 minutes after the hour, we'll have this. At 17 after the hour, we'll have this. At 31 after the hour, we'll have this. At 45 after the hour, we'll have this. I don't care. You don't need to pre-sell. You're boring.
Boring.
and so, yes, so it was, it's interesting. And now you see it with podcast. Now you see it, what talk radio has become, what podcasting has become, what X has become is content. People providing content, information, opinion, and then people reacting, to that, which I think is one of the most healthiest things you could possibly have.
Yeah.
But for me, I started last weekend going to the concert. By the way, it was a great concert, the Bluegrass concert I went to last week, the Petersons. Man, what a unbelievably great band they are. I think one of the best American roots bands, as they call it in America.
Yeah.
And I was not. I love bluegrass, and I actually like bluegrass because I was a Poco fan when Poco, way back in the mid-'70s, would do bluegrass stuff.
Right.
And I loved that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a genre, and when I first heard them the first time, and I come from more of the prog rock and the hard rock area, not that I don't like other forms of music, but that's what I really listened to. It's like, wow, what a great, great show. And
I had never, until recent years, put together the two genres, bluegrass and prog rock, in terms of the work and dedication required to learn and then, as a group or a musician, execute that, whatever you're, whichever you're doing, prog rock or bluegrass, you have to execute it properly. There is no leeway. There's a lot of things, like you could look at Eddie Van Halen could come out and do a solo And it didn't have to be eruption, to the T at every show. In fact, it rarely was, in fact. He would have certain parts of eruption in his guitar solo, but he would just be Eddie. That's a very different thing than you've got this, whether it's a prog rock or bluegrass. This has to be done, and it has to be done properly. It has to be.
You make a great point. For example, Steve Hackett from Saga, from Genesis.
Genesis, yeah.
Saga is another prog rock band I absolutely just love, even though they're much more poppy than early Genesis would be. King Crimson, they were just off on and I had no idea that Daryl Hall worked with King Crimson for such a long time. Back in the 70s, I had no idea. Daryl Hall with King Crimson blew my mind. I just found that out in the last couple of months when they were playing together. It was just amazing. But layers of music when you have, and the Petersons did this last week with Carol of the Bells, and they do it in a couple of things where they have banjo, mandolin, the stand-up bass, the guitar, the violin, the fiddle. It's a violin. Katie Peterson plays a violin, not a fiddle, even though they got to call it a fiddle.
Yeah.
She calls it a fiddle. And then the dobro, which is the sideways guitar. And there's layers. Everybody's playing at the same time, and you can pick out the layers of music in it. There's like 5-6 different layers, and you realize it's incredibly complicated, which prog rock does the exact same thing.
Exactly.
Where you can hear all the, it's not just an Eddie Van Halen solo, it's 5-6 solos going on from all different instruments, and you're like, it's mind-blowing to the brain. And then the Petersons, every one of them sings, and the harmonies are perfect. If you ever checked them out, the Petersons, in fact, put in Petersons in YouTube and put in Bohemian Rhapsody. Because that's the one where I went, I heard it in another room because it came up in YouTube Shuffle a year and a half ago, and I went, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And I walk in, I go, okay, what's going on? What are these Walton-like, because they had the long dresses on.
Yeah.
What's this Walton's John Boy, Donny Osmond kind of, who's that is that the Partridge Family? Is that the mother playing the stand-up bass in the back? And it was.
Hey, John Boy, I think Freddie Mercury's at the door.
No, you're right. Yeah, right.
I mean,
so I had that last week. I'm going to see Trans-Siberian, and then later on today, bringing Banana Bread out, and then this weekend, going to just hang out, do Christmas stuff.
Yeah.
Going to hang out with the Buffalo Boys. Be the first time I'll watch the Bills this year.
Yeah.
Going to go to Buffalo Brothers on Sunday afternoon to watch that game, and then off to Buffalo to see my dad on Monday, and then back next Friday, and then Trans-Siberian next weekend. So it's going to be tons of stuff.
Good.
It's going to be good.
Good.
But,
very good.
So and then I do want to still hear do you believe in Father Christmas more? Greg Lake.
Yeah, right.
And I read the other day, it's about anti-commercialism, is what Greg Lake said. But the guy who wrote the lyrics said it's not. It's about the loss of innocence. It's Christmas when you were young as to Christmas when you get older.
Right.
So, but I love that song.
Yeah.
I've
always loved that song.
They don't play it.
I haven't heard it in a while.
Classic rock stations used to play it all the time. They could get away with that.
Right.
I don't need to hear the waitresses anymore, though.
Yeah. No.
I forgot. I heard it the other day, and I went,
yeah.
Rock stations used to play that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, it's crazy.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, Matt Gaetz back in the news again.
Yeah. All right.
Former Representative Matt Gaetz is defending what he says is embarrassing, though not criminal, past behavior, and taking a shot at the House Ethics Committee following reports that the panel voted to release its findings about him. That means they had to get a Republican to vote for that. Why would a Republican vote to do that if he's out of the House?
If he's already gone.
Well, why would
That's
they
the first question that hit my mind.
Yeah. Said, then he said, in my single days, I often send funds to women I dated, and some I never dated, but who asked. Why would that be any business of anybody if you gave
if it's
money?
legal behavior? Why would you insist on?
I dated several of these women for years. I never had sexual contact with someone under 18. Any claim that I would have would be destroyed in court, which is why no such claim has ever been made in court. My 30s were an era of working very hard and playing too hard. It's embarrassing, though not criminal. And I probably partied, womanized, drank, and smoked. Smoked what? More than I should have earlier in life. I live a different life now. You know, I tried to be a womanizer. I just couldn't get any cooperation from the women.
The problem is,
that's,
because the first word in womanizing is woman.
Yeah, I mean, I tried. It's like for some reason they wouldn't cooperate.
That's your hurdle right there.
Yeah, that's. But I just the question I wondered is, I'm glad you had the first question in your mind is who is a Republican and what is the Republican? What would be the Republican reason for wanting to release it now that he's gone? Right. I understand Democrats.
Right.
Okay. This is negative. It's allegations.
Yeah.
It'll help us in some way.
Right.
But what is the Republican political reason for wanting it to be released? Again, we don't know what's in it. But if that's what it is, that he drank and whatever, he's out of it. I mean, he's not involved in anything anymore. And so
unless they're going off the rumor that's been out there for a while that he wants to run for governor of Florida one day.
Well, then you'd wait.
But I don't know. I don't know what the immediate motivation would be in voting for that. I don't know.
Merry Christmas to you and yours from all of us here at Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. You know, the whole Matt Gaetz thing. And by the way, we've been very, very extremely tough on Matt Gaetz since he dropped out.
Yeah.
And said he had an obligation and responsibility. He ran for election again. He told his constituents by running again that he would serve another couple of years. And then he just dropped out. And he dropped out, leaving just a one vote. At the first of the year after you've got, if everybody is appointed, you have a one vote difference in the House. He would have made two.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to drop out, he's saying to hell with the Trump agenda, and he's saying to hell with my constituents who put me in.
He could have, after withdrawing from the nomination, he could have gone back.
Right. And if what he says here, that nothing was criminal at all, then he should have fought it.
Right. Exactly.
If nothing was criminal and none of these things happened, then he should have fought it. But still, I wonder that why, because the rules, we were told the rules are you don't release it if they're no longer in Congress. So who is the Republican or Republicans who agreed with the Democrats to all of a sudden release this and why?
Right.
Just so people understand our full opinion on this and of Gaetz.
Because what's the motive?
Right.
I mean, is it a death knell kind of political death knell approach? Which I don't know that it gets you anything once he's gone.
Now, what he says, we don't know what's going to be in the report. It could be extremely damning to him, which then would explain everything.
Right.
And if the report does come out, I'm sure we'll look at it and go, oh, okay. well, there's nothing there. He should not have pulled out. Why did he pull out? Why did he do this? Or, oh, okay, now we understand why. Mm-hmm. But then if it's that bad, well, then he's not being honest with us at that point.
Right.
One or the other.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I want to make sure we play this audio cut, too. This is Sean Hannity and Josh Hawley, and this is on the CR. And I want to play this because you and I have been, in fact, this may become a new segment on the show. Good Josh Hawley, bad Josh Hawley.
Yeah, right.
Senator Hawley from, yesterday it was good Josh Hawley, how he went after the head of the president of the NCAA. We're like, good. The day before was bad Josh Hawley when he promoted the biggest expansion, one of the biggest expansions of welfare ever in the United States, but doing it through the tax system with the expansion of the child tax credit that he wants. But here he is on with Sean Hannity yesterday talking about the continuing resolution.
The best worst-case scenario, considering they didn't do their job, would be a clean CR. Democrats say they won't support that. So we're at a standoff, right? I don't see any way out of that.
I think that's right. I mean, unless, listen, the government's going to shut down on Friday. And by the way, that was also the choice of Republican leadership. They could very well have done this and extended it longer, which is what Donald Trump wanted. They said, oh, no, we'll come back and do it in December. Why did they want to do it in December, Sean? So that they could force us up against the wall and try to get through all of their special projects and their pet projects and spending. And now they've been caught red-handed. And now they don't have a plan. Well, that's their fault. Mike Johnson and his crew need to figure this out. They need to do the right thing. And I tell you, this is not right. What they're trying to do is a disaster. They own this, then they need to fix it.
You know, he's been out there the last 24 hours talking about how we need to cut, how we need to cut, how we need to cut.
Yeah, and we have a question.
I mean, it's just and nobody. I don't know any other conservative radio talk show hosts that have called Josh Hawley out for three different things that are populist liberalism fully. Yeah. Number one, how he's talking about cutting and at the same time wants to expand welfare by trillions of dollars over the next 10 years, but doing it through the tax system, which we are completely against, which is what liberal Democrats promoted as recently as 10 years ago.
Right. Expanding the child tax credit.
And then using the bogus argument, as he said, well, no, we're only talking about people that pay taxes, and he's including FICA. That's right out of the liberal handbook.
Yep. We've been here before.
Yeah, we've been here. We've done this before, Josh. And the other thing is how Josh Hawley believes he has promoted the fact that corporations shouldn't have free speech rights.
Right.
That's exactly what McCain-Feingold was a long time ago. Again, another liberal position. And what was the last? Oh, yeah. The other one was price controls on credit cards.
Right. I mean, these are massive populist liberal agenda items that we have faced before.
Yep. And so, since nobody else seems to want to call him out on it, I believe National Review did.
Yeah.
And maybe the Wall Street Journal did on conservative values.
Right.
We're not going to let Josh... Look, if he wants to promote it, fine. Don't call yourself a conservative in the fact that you want to cut and that you're behind the Department of Government Efficiency to cut $2 trillion and promote a massive welfare expansion, trillions of dollars over 10 years, and try to label yourself as a loyal conservative.
Look, he posted the Axios story and why it matters the other day on X. He wasn't denying anything in that Axios story that described exactly what we're saying, that it would cost $2 to $3 trillion over 10 years. He didn't. He posted it proudly. He put that story up there. Yep. He didn't challenge any of what Axios was saying. Now, he talked to Axios according to the story. There were quotes in that story. So we're not reading into something. This isn't a report that came up from Axios, a sourced report It's directly from Hawley.
Yep.
And we've been here before. This whole idea of claiming, well, no, they do pay taxes. They don't pay an income tax. They pay FICA taxes. They pay the payroll tax. They don't pay income tax. And it pointed that out, by the way, too. In Axios, they pointed that out. It would include individuals who pay little to no income tax.
On the radical transgender movement, one of the best out there. Good Josh Hawley.
Yep.
On other things, and my point is, if you're going to promote this, be intellectually honest. Because what you're doing, you would criticize if that person you were asking questions to in the Senate.
Right. Right.
Don't throw that out that you're paying taxes. You're paying income tax. Try to make it that you're paying income tax if you're paying FICA tax.
Mm-hmm.
That's a separate account.
And it's a separate purpose for that taxation
yes.
on the individual.
And I know that he wouldn't go as far as McCain-Feingold when it came to groups having free speech rights, that he's just focusing on corporations shouldn't have free speech rights
right.
because they shouldn't have influence. That's a load of horse manure.
Yep.
That because he's saying that, well, no, other groups should have it. Unions should have it, and other organizations, PACs, and they should have it. But he wants to single out corporations. This is the same garbage that we see, that CEOs and corporations must be evil in some way. So the people in there shouldn't have free speech rights. Because the whole point is, we remember when we dealt with, what was it, the Portland... what was it?
There's the Portland chapter of Occupy Wall Street.
Oh, Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah.
Remember how we had that guy stumped?
Mm-hmm.
Well, corporations aren't people. Well, we know they're not. Corporations are a set of rules set up by the state to regulate business. The people, the citizens of the United States that are involved in the setting up of that particular corporation, they have free speech rights. Remember the silence?
Mm-hmm.
Josh Hawley can't win the argument on constitutional grounds.
Right.
As a constitutional expert and lawyer that he has labeled on his X account.
Right.
And the other one is price controls on credit card companies. Again, banks are evil, corporations are evil. We need to put price controls on credit.
I mean, you're handing a gift to people on the left, to Democrats in the Senate. Elizabeth Warren. I mean, she'd go further, I'm sure, than the cap that he proposed. But you're handing them the gift saying it's the same sentiment. They're evil, and we should limit profits.
Yep.
In a voluntary process, by the way, people aren't required to spend. They're not forced to by those companies. They may be in a bad place, but they're not forced to spend with those accounts.
And a massive expansion, $1 trillion expansion of the welfare system.
Yep.
And trying to hide it and bury it inside the tax system is what Democrats do, and then try to justify it through the FICA tax is what liberal Democrats have done for the longest time. So like I said, there's good Josh Hawley, and then there's bad Josh Hawley. This is a bad Josh Hawley on those three particular issues.
Right.
Somebody has to defend conservative principles, because a lot of Republicans are not right now.
Well,
and if you are for cutting, as he claims he is, and the cuts need to be made here, then you got to call him out, the hypocrisy of what he wishes to do with the massive welfare expansion.
Because I just have to wonder. I mean, do you think that one audience won't hear one position, and another audience won't hear the other position? I don't know how you have the same thought in the same person.
I think because, remember, also from what he said in the Axios column, that the Trump is also for this. And so, sorry, folks, we don't care who you are.
Yeah, that's important. It said in the Axios article on that he sat down with Trump's team and specifically took J.D. Vance's lead on the amount of that child tax credit expansion of $5,000.
Yeah.
We haven't seen J.D. Vance comment on that. And he wasn't quoted in that story, but we haven't seen anybody in the transition team deny that.
I think that they believe that Republicans will be too afraid to criticize them on this. I really do.
Yeah.
You know, your point.
Well, because
your point was taken, talking to one audience one way and the other audience the other way. But the other point of it is also they'll be too afraid because we're going to say this is for the families out there, and you're going to be too afraid to say it. Well, you're not going to cut. You're not going to cut $2 trillion as they all claim they're for.
Right.
If you have this kind of massive expansion and you keep saying, Wall Street Journal brought it out with $100 billion and the lessening of the qualifications for all the hurricane aid, saying this is more than what they need.
Right. Right.
And the point is,
but you can't say that.
But you can't say that.
Politically, you can't say it.
Politically, you can, and they're hoping politically you can't say we're trying to help working families with this. We care about working families, and you don't. Well, then you can't have both. You can't say we need to help all the working families and give them a ton of cash and cut $2 trillion. You can't do it both. Our point is, don't BS us.
Exactly. When you're proposing the bill, it tells me you're more inclined for the spending, not the cutting.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, so tomorrow's our last show for the year. So what we've been doing is looking at this year and also what may come up next year. What are Democrats' strategy next year? We'll have an audio cut from Ben Winkler, who's wanting to become the chair of the DNC.
Yeah, right.
And saying that Democrats, need to get on there. We need to build up an independent progressive media to reach out to voters.
Yeah.
He still doesn't get it. He was on Fox News, but it's really interesting. You have to understand Democrats, and we'll get into this coming up following the top of the hour.
Yeah.
You're wrong on the issues. You're insane on the issues. That's the problem. And to sit there and say that a ton of voters only get their news about Democrats from Republicans, actually, Republicans or the Republican media play what Democrats are saying on a consistent basis. We do it all the time.
Yep.
It's not just it's a false narrative that, Republicans are saying we're going to do this and we don't want you to know what Democrats are saying. Republicans in this last campaign exclusively.
Yeah.
Almost
Right.
95% of what they played was what Kamala Harris was saying.
Exactly. Wow.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you so much for being here. As always, Merry Christmas, everyone. Wow.
Ho, ho, ho.
A week from now, Christmas will be over.
Yeah. I watched a movie recently on Amazon, my wife and I. It's a new Christmas movie with The Rock. I forget what it's called. It was all right. But he plays like Santa's security elf. It's The Rock, so he's got to play security, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then somebody commented, well, you guys work 365 days a year? And he goes, no, we get Boxing Day off. I'm like, how many people know what Boxing Day is, right? Not a nod to our Canadian friends, I guess, in that movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's the day after Christmas.
Yes.
For those that don't know. Yeah. I typically, at that point, that's when I get restless, right? I'll sleep in a little bit the day after Christmas. We're not working or anything. And typically, in fact, 99% of the time, my wife is. So I'll sleep in, she'll go to work during the day. Then I get up and I just start getting restless. It's like, okay, need something to do. So.
Yeah, we'll be at my sister's late on Christmas. Thanksgiving, she always gets a little irked because on Thanksgiving I, leave because I always catch an early morning flight out, like a 6 a.m. flight out. And so I got to head back to my dad's, go to sleep. And I always tell her, don't worry, Christmas, I take off I will not, I will be here I will be there the 26th. So she'll probably want to stay up late, and things take longer, the kids unwrapping presents and stuff like that. Then she'll probably want to watch some Christmas movies. But it looks like, last I saw, no White Christmas.
In Buffalo.
No White Christmas in Buffalo, yeah.
All right.
Last I saw, I hadn't checked since yesterday, but when I last checked, I think it was like going to be in the upper 30s, might even be 40. And where at my dad's house, they had no snow yesterday. So, they got pounded early on.
We're going to be in the mid-60s.
I know.
Here in Texas, in North Texas. So I'm all right with that. I don't mind the mild winters at all. Now, that may change drastically in January. I don't know.
Okay, there it is, 38, 31.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday, 36, 33. But it just says rain. And if it's 36, 33, the snow's not going to stick. 38, 31 on Wednesday, then 41, 34 on Thursday. That's in Buffalo. So.
Okay. All right.
And we're going to be nice. That's the one thing that I'm finally acclimated to. I've been here now almost 25 years. And I always wanted a couple of days of snow. I wanted it around the holidays.
Yeah.
And I missed it. And then one of the funniest things is I remember twice, like in the last 15 years, I went back to see my mom and dad back then, and there was no snow there, and it snowed here.
Yeah, we had a white Christmas while you were gone.
Twice you had a white Christmas here, and there was nothing in Buffalo. It's like, that's not fair. But now I got used to for me now, winter here is the southern Bermuda grass going dormant.
Yeah, right.
And turning whatever that color is, it's like a sandy kind of color, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of
not really brown.
Yeah, not brown. But,
kind of a light tan.
Yeah. And that to me is almost, now that says winter to me. And the thing that's really, for people that don't live in Texas, the leaves have been unbelievably beautiful the last 7 days.
I think I said to you off the air the other day, it's weird because we're just now getting our fall.
Yes.
And the leaves changing and really beautiful in my neighborhood. I live in an old neighborhood, and so it's got all these old trees. And of course, I'm going to have to deal with a lot of the leaves when the wind blew in about this time yesterday. Oh. And so, I've got to, and then they're wet too, of course. So I've got some work to do there, but I don't mind it. But we're just now getting our fall. I looked at my tree as I was walking out to my truck tonight. I have two huge trees, but the one tree, a fruitless mulberry, only has a few leaves on it. I hadn't looked up recently, and it's like it's almost done shedding its leaves. So once I get this one thing done, with the leaves, I'll be done basically until spring. There's not much else to do.
And it's interesting because I've flown back so much during the holidays, and I fly back, people know, almost every 3 weeks to see my dad. 99 in April. My dad will be 99 in April.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And just so you know,
Amazing.
twice this week I've called and he's not there. He's out doing stuff.
Yeah. I love that. My dad will be 92 in May. And Mom and Dad have had a bit of a virus here over the last, since the weekend. And hopefully they're getting over it. They have some nurses that come to the house, so they're taking care of them. But it may keep us from being able to go see them. I'm hopeful that at some point while we're off, they'll be well enough to take visitors. But occasionally that's, especially during the warmer weather, Dad, I'll call the house and Mom's, he's outside doing something. He's out there doing something, and that's awesome. That's awesome. I look forward to it, more and more. This is the time of year when more people have a little more time off, and so we get more time together. And really, that's what it's about for me. I mean,
same with me.
Aside from the spiritual thing, which is primary, and for me, it's a lot like Easter. Easter for me is it's I don't want to say a renewal of my faith, but it's kind of that same idea of kind of doing a self-check. Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Are you trying? Are you putting in the effort to be who you're supposed to be? And Christmas is the same for me. It always has been.
Okay, if you're focused on bringing God into Christmas,
I am. Always will be. I am.
I remember we did this a couple of times, going to midnight mass.
I went with a friend one time. I'm not Catholic. It was beautiful.
Yeah, midnight mass.
When I was a kid, I went.
Yeah, I've gone to the church around the corner from my dad's house, and they use I don't know if they still do it now, but I went twice about 10 years ago. The entire family went, and it was in the old church.
Yeah.
And it was just, it's different. I mean,
it really is.
It is.
Well, for me, it was different than and I've been to also Christmas Eve, at Baptist churches and everything else, and it's beautiful, and also it stands out. But I remember as a kid, because it was a big deal to ask my mom, can I go with Billy to this midnight mass? First of all, staying up late. But primarily, we're not Catholic. And my mom said, yeah, just make sure you stay with the adults and, don't wander off. And then we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Now, I will say that one of the midnight masses that I went to right across the street from where my parents go to, or my dad goes to church now. He does it now. He does everything from home. He just can't go to church.
Yeah, my parents do the same.
Yeah, he just can't go. But I know the people that own the bar across the street, and they stay open very late on Christmas Eve into Christmas morning.
Wow.
Because everybody goes from midnight mass right over to the bar.
Yeah, right.
Now, that's what you get when you grow up in a parish, as I did, St. John the Baptist Church in Kenmore, New York.
Wow.
That had a bowling alley and bar on church ground. And I love talking about this because especially every time I talk about this, people from like Minnesota, Wisconsin, any of the states up there, they'll say, we had the same thing. I mean, it was something of the churches that came around in the, after the 40s and 50s. And I remember going to Boy Scout meetings, and the bowling alley, it was a 6-lane bowling alley. And my uncle, I actually have a picture of my uncle who was like the manager, and he was behind the bar, my Uncle Norm. And we used to go in there. It's funny because the bar would open up 4 in the afternoon, and we'd be out and about, and Hey, let's stop in at the bar. And we're 10.
Yeah, right.
But we go in and have a soft drink.
Yeah.
With my, cream soda, cream and orange soda. And play the pinball game or whatever. And my uncle was the bartender manager of it. And so, but we'd go to Boy Scout meetings on Friday nights. It'd be mobbed. One thing I can always remember is how the smoke, because the secondhand smoke went throughout the entire place.
Yeah.
Because everybody smoked back then. And I just remember how that would make me sick after my mother's fish stick Friday.
Oh, yeah, right.
And the combination of fish stick Friday
and secondhand smoke.
And secondhand smoke.
Not good.
I can still remember that as a
It's funny how you mentioned that, and you mentioned scout meetings. I remember vividly. There was we would have these scout meetings when I was a younger scout. When I was I think I was either a Cub Scout or a Weeblo. And the den mother, her brother was a priest. I couldn't remember why the priest was there at the meetings, but it turned out the den mother's brother was a priest, right? And I remember specifically, first of all, it's all about the snacks when you're that young. And I remember him smoking a cigarette and, standing there in the dining room. We're all around the table and it was snack time and the whole thing. And he was standing there smoking a cigarette thinking, and in my mind I was questioning, I'm not Catholic, but is he supposed to be smoking? Is that allowed? I couldn't compartment. I didn't know. I was, but he was smoking a cigarette.
I remember when I was in high school and we were having a discussion with one of the priests there, and, is it right? Because the kids were wondering, is it right to have a bar?
Yeah.
On church grounds. And he had a great answer. He said, for the community all to get together, for all the bowling leagues that they had. He said, and the community, the parish having a community there, because nobody really got drunk. And it was true. People weren't drunk.
Right.
They had a beer or two or whatever, and they all bowled. But I don't remember anybody ever being drunk.
Right.
He said, there's nothing wrong with that. And I went, that's a solid point. Now, they ended up, I think all the Catholic churches, I don't know why, liability, whatever, but they ended up, getting rid of the bowling alley and bars. But whenever I bring it up, I get people sending me emails saying, that was the same in my church, too. We had a bowling alley and bar.
Yeah.
And it was a great point. It was a sense of community. It's like you're there, you worship there, you volunteer there. And you party there.
Right. Well, I remember.
Not really. I don't want to make it sound like, because like I said, people really didn't get drunk. They had a couple
But it
of
was
beers.
social gathering.
It was a social gathering.
Right.
Social activities, volunteer activities, parish activities. And he goes, I don't really see a problem with it. And I went, I can understand that.
You remember Mark Farner?
Yeah. Grand Funk, yeah.
Later, Mark Farner and the Brothers of Disciples.
Yeah.
Well, I was at a station that promoted a concert at a nightclub. And it was Mark Farner on the poster, Mark Farner of Grand Funk Railroad. And it was like, everybody came out. And then it was like, yeah, but you need to introduce us as Mark Farner and the Brothers of Disciples. I don't know if somebody got it wrong on the poster or where the miscommunication was. I said, oh, okay, because he was Christian. And then somebody asked him, I think it was the club manager, asked him one point backstage, but you're playing clubs. And he says, this is where you go to spread the word, spread, the gospels. You go to where the people are. If they're going to be in clubs, you go to them. The ones in churches are already converted or trying to be converted. So this is where I have to take the message. And I was like, okay, interesting point. And so that kind of resonates with that. If it's, again, as long as everything is within reason and at the church.
And that's why in my youth, I used to go to bars and get drunk so I could convert them to the conservative ideology that I was believing in.
Well, I'd love to convert myself into a good-looking guy. That happened usually about 10 or 12 shots in. Usually.
You think this conversation's bad?
You know how
wait,
they say,
wait. You think this conversation's bad? Wait till we get to my favorite Christmas gift, the guillotine, tomorrow.
You know how they always say, well, the more you drink, the better looking other people get?
Yeah.
It was all about me.
No, I was
trying to make myself better looking.
I said that. I used to use that when I did stand-up comedy.
Right.
I said when I used to be a club DJ.
Yeah.
I said I finally realized I'm not going to drink anymore, and it was amazing. That it automatically went. I mean, there were no good-looking people in there at 3 a.m. anymore. They all went somewhere
What
else.
happened? They just left when you. As soon as you quit drinking, they were gone. Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Once a roadside inspection is completed, the officer will close it out, which involves the officer writing or typing up the report. The more the officer found during the inspection, the longer this will take. If violations were discovered, most officers, as a courtesy, will explain the violations to the driver. If there were any out-of-service violations, the officer will normally explain what must be done to get the out-of-service order lifted. Drivers need to be very attentive during this part of the inspection. The driver also needs to read and understand the complete inspection report. After receiving the inspection report, the driver has 24 hours to get the roadside inspection report to the motor carrier. If the driver will not be returning to a company facility within the next 24 hours, the driver needs to know to get it on the way to you via email, mail, or fax within 24 hours. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. This really started happening about 36 hours ago. When did Trump have the press conference? Was it 2 days ago or 3?
Whenever. Yeah, I think it was 3.
Yeah, whenever he had the press conference, and the question came up about Kennedy, and he said, no, I believe in the polio vaccine. I know people that were saved from it.
Right.
And remember, RFK Jr. has said he has questioned the efficacy of all vaccines.
Right.
And Trump doesn't believe that, and so he's defending it. And the surrogates were out yesterday, the last couple of days, defending, saying, well, you have to realize Trump's in charge. Trump's the boss. When you're using that argument, that's not a good argument. You mean the person you put in doesn't agree with you on major medical items
that you believe are dangerous.
Right. And plus, we'll have some quotes. You want to hear these quotes coming up.
All right.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Interesting. You just wonder if there's concern from the incoming administration about Robert Kennedy Jr. You, as HHS secretary. Now, we've said it. We think it's a horrible choice. The two horrible choices of Trump. I mean, horrendous choices. Worst possible choices you could have ever made. Robert Kennedy Jr. for head of HHS, and I can't think of the labor nominee right now.
Yeah.
The labor nominee who believes in unionization of all government, from towns and cities to states to the federal government.
Right.
Which is exactly the opposite of what you want if you believe in the Department of Government Efficiency. Those are the things that we sit there and go, what? And so what you hear is, but Trump's the boss. I have to do what he says. Why the hell do you put him in there then?
Right.
Why do you put somebody in there who is purposely disagrees with you 180 degrees?
Right.
Why would you do that? And then the other day, Trump got asked, at the press conference and talked about the fact that he believes, without question, in the polio vaccine. Now, we know that all vaccines, RFK Jr. has questioned the efficacy of them. And you're talking smallpox, you're talking polio, you're talking all the different vaccines out there. One of the reasons that we live so long is all of those vaccines.
Yeah.
Now, should we pay attention? And should we always update? And should the government be transparent in the side effects of all vaccines? Of course they should. I want to play here. This is Michael Singleton, who is the Republican political commentator, one of them, at CNN,
all right.
About this. Here we go.
Okay.
Ultimately, I think any cabinet nominee, if confirmed, will follow the president-elect's lead. And he's been very clear that he supports polio. He made a statement yesterday. He talked about friends who survived, experienced it. He talked about how he would want to focus on a litany of things, from the types of pesticides we use in agriculture, citing Scandinavian countries, which I once upon a time remember many of my Democratic friends lauding for their great healthcare system. And so I don't think you're going to see cabinet secretaries run amok doing whatever they want to do. They're going to follow the president's agenda because it's his agenda that the American people ultimately elected.
Poor argument for defense of a candidate that you pick.
Right.
Well, he's got to do what the president says. What do you mean? You want somebody who believes in what the president believes, which makes that's a weak argument. If that's your strong argument, that's a weak argument. Dan McLaughlin, National Review. Who said this? RFK Jr. is a radical left liberal who is totally anti-gun, an extremist environmentalist who makes the green new scammers look conservative, a big-time taxer, not vaxxer, a big-time taxer, an open border advocate, and an anti-military, anti-vet person. Who said that?
I'm going to guess Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, as recently as May of this year. He said he would take Biden over RFK Jr. He said under Kennedy, the United States would collapse immediately. He's not a Republican, so don't think you're going to vote for him and feel good. He's a radical left Democrat. Let the Democrats have RFK Jr. They deserve him. He called Kennedy a Democratic plant. Meanwhile, Kennedy has called Trump supporters belligerent idiots, outright Nazis, and spineless fellow travelers. We all know why he picked him.
Yeah.
Everybody knows why he picked Robert Kennedy Jr. For head of HHS. Everyone knows. Because he dropped out of the race and then endorsed Trump.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
And as you said during the break, well, then Herschel Walker him.
Yeah, I mean, look, if the payback is something, a government position, and we knew this because the word was out, what positions he would accept, essentially. And that was the negotiation. Keep in mind, RFK Jr. also talked to Kamala's campaign. And so it was about getting him into a government position. Health and Human Services.
Quote from Kennedy, my highest ambition is to have a single-payer system, which he described as where people who want to have a private program can go ahead and do that, but to have a single program that is open to everyone. And the hope was that people would gravitate to the government program over, because you can't compete against the government. Private sector, government can control. They control the regulation. They can do it. But that's what he believes.
Right.
To put him over HHS and Medicare and Medicaid, to me, you couldn't have made more of a wrong choice than Trump did. And every Republican knows, not one Republican listening right now can debate us on that. You know as well as we do that he's the wrong one. And I know we know what your answer is. Yeah, but he's got to do what Trump says. Trump admitted, remember, Trump admitted he hired the majority of people he hired in his first term was wrong. He needed to hire people that agreed with him because they publicly came out against him.
Yep.
And then he puts Robert Kennedy Jr. as the head of HHS. Could not have been a worse decision. And now you've got, over the last 36 to 48 hours since he said that, people wondering, okay, what's going on? RFK Jr., in my opinion, on so many issues, is a nutcase.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, he's far left. Yeah. And has been.
Look, anybody can ask the questions, and the questions are fine to ask to do the science, but so much of what he believes, where he questioned the efficacy of, you're talking polio vaccine, that's why that came out. That came out because
that was the big one, yeah.
That was the big one because it's like he's questioning, because anybody who knows the history, smallpox and you go back to the vaccines over the last 100 years. Take COVID out of it because of the emergency thing of it and the line and everything else that we were told on that one. Still, though, we do know the one thing that has remained strong in science is if you have an underlying condition and are older and you get COVID, it will reduce the symptoms. That one still stands in it. But were there a bunch of lies? Yes. Do you become an anti-vaxxer because of it, of all vaccines? It's ridiculous. You have no perspective on history if you do.
Well, also, a huge issue for me is abortion. And on abortion, RFK Jr. has been very clear. Abortion till birth, had to back away from that, but still supported abortion till viability.
And he's the head of government money that goes there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And after all the railing against Obamacare, someone who is single-payer system guy, again, as you just mentioned, one of his greatest goals is to get to a single-payer system.
And understand, as we go into the new year, we said this. We wanted Trump because the lawfare had to end and the weaponization of government had to end. And that's what's going to happen. But we told everybody, we told all Republicans out there, do not expect us to go along with Trump or the Republicans if they start promoting populist liberalism that we have all rejected completely over the last 50 years.
And it's not surprising to us things that have dropped this week. The RFK Jr. nomination isn't this week, but the conversation is happening again. But Josh Hawley on expanding the child tax credit, while they're also railing against the spending in the House.
Yeah, don't be hypocrites. We're going to call you on it. Nobody else might, but we will.
And it's, again, it's the same thing that we've been seeing for years of doing this. We've been seeing it over and over again. Talking the good talk, and then when it's time to walk, you do something that's opposite. And I can't trust that.
Well, we've seen it all. We've been in it long enough. We're old enough. We've seen it all. And we see, we get people come in and, okay, we're going to promise this, but let's try to sneak this in.
Right. Right.
Hey, every generation doesn't know we live in the bubble of today.
Right.
Well, we don't live in the bubble of today. We know what the arguments were against liberalism 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. For the last half century, we know what the arguments have been against liberalism. Do not, as a Republican, bring up those arguments again to defend what the Republicans should be doing. We're going to call you on it.
Right. Look, the populist liberal agenda on the child tax credit. It's been in play for years from the left.
Oh, yeah.
And in recent years, the GOP jumping on board, Marco Rubio and Mike Lee, who campaigned and finally achieved getting the expanded child tax credit, fully refundable amount put in. They worked toward that end. And now Josh Hawley wanting to take it even further.
Yep.
And this is the problem. You take it to this point, and where's it going to end? Just pay one of the parents to stay home, ultimately. $100,000 a year. It's welfare. You need to call it welfare and end the conversation about taxes. It's not about taxation because they're not paying income tax. They're, in fact, many, if not most, are paying little to no income tax that would qualify.
Yep. And so number one, don't sit there and say it's tax policy, it's welfare. Call it what it is. Don't lie to the American public.
And the payroll tax isn't an income tax.
Right. Stop with that lie.
Right.
We've been here before. How do we know? Liberal Democrats used it, Senator Hawley.
These arguments, we've already been here. We've had these debates for years.
And don't claim that you're a cutter and you're behind cutting $2 trillion that Doge is talking about and Elon Musk is talking about, and then propose a massive $1 trillion increase, couple of trillion, maybe $3 trillion over 10 years increase in welfare spending, and try to make it stealth by calling it a tax, part of the tax policy out there.
Right.
And don't lie and say, well, all these people are paying taxes, and use FICA as the example. FICA is not income tax.
Another liberal approach is another element to this bill, this proposal by Hawley, and that is pay it out throughout the year, not just at tax time. In other words, it becomes a paycheck.
Yep.
Whether, I don't know if it's monthly or quarterly, they didn't get into details, but it would be paid throughout the year.
And I don't know why conservative Republicans aren't calling Josh Hawley out.
I
why
don't
are
have
we?
any idea.
As far as I know, I don't know any other conservative talk show hosts, whatever, calling out Hawley, podcasters or anybody.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Why are we accepting this? Why are we accepting, number one, the hypocrisy, and number two, the liberal lies from Senator Hawley on it?
I don't get it. Where is the outrage?
Yep. Because there was outrage when the Democrats were promoting it, and it was torn apart when Democrats were promoting it. So understand what's coming next year from us. We're going to hold the fire to the Republicans who claim that they're conservatives and wish to be tax cutters. When they're not, we will call them on it, as you should call them on it.
Exactly.
I don't care about the personalities. I don't care whether Hawley is there as a senator. I don't care whether Trump is there as a president. I want conservatives in there promoting conservative ideology.
You want to do a welfare program? Great. Write it up as a welfare program, and let's see if it floats.
Yeah. Call it what it is. Don't lie, Senator Hawley.
Exactly. By the way, it would include the year if it would include the time that, I'll say it this way, the birthing parent is pregnant with a child.
You just said it for Senator
I
Hawley.
said that for Hawley because we go right back in circles again.
Well, no, but he can be great. He can be fantastic at times.
Exactly.
But don't be a fiscal liberal and try to sell yourself as a fiscal conservative.
Right.
866-90-RED-I.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-I on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, the Biden administration greenlights electric vehicle mandate for California, which means at least 10 other states that get the waiver along with California.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that coming up here in a little bit.
Yeah.
What idiots. This whole thing, we're going to be fully electric vehicles by 2035. These people are idiots.
Look.
And they're not, by the way, they're not changing on any issue out there. There's not one issue that they're changing on.
And you know, the current governor won't be the governor of California in 2035. But the OEMs have to change what they're doing in order to meet that standard before 2035. It's going to crush profits and jobs and the consumer.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.